Well, hi there. I'm Diana Montford, the world's first transgender television journalist. I really am. Born male, became female, you know the drill. Anyway, my guest is Ms. Marie Marr, who is an attorney and animal rights activist, and we are going to discuss animals, their rights, and sadly some of the terrible things that happen to animals in our quite animalistic world, and what you can do to make sure that our little friends, or big friends, horses too, elephants, that they're all safe and sound, and that, everything is going well for them. Anyway, my guest, Ms. Marie Marr.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Diana.
Well, you're welcome. So now, tell us about yourself.
Okay, I am a practicing attorney in New York City. I was a volunteer for the New Yorkers for Companion Animals, and I also was on the Shelter Reform Action Committee, and I also was on the Board of Directors of United Action for Animals, and I was a member of the Committee on Legal Issues Pertaining to Animals at the New York City Bar Association, wherein I was moderator of several seminars. One of them was on the link between animal cruelty and crimes against humans, animal-assisted therapy, and also animal shelters. And what I would like to discuss now is a brief history of the animal shelters in New York City, in particular the shelter that accepts any dog and cat that is dropped off to them, and that is the New York City Animal Shelter System. Initially, this work was done by the ASPCA on behalf of New York City. And the ASPCA was euthanizing probably about 100,000 animals a year. Mm. And then they gave up this back to the city because they just did not want, their mission statement was not to kill animals. Ergo, we have the Center for Animal Care and Control. Since that time, it has changed names several times, Animal Care and Control. Now it's the Animal Care Centers of New York. So initially in the late 90s, when I was a member of the Shelter Reform Action Committee, they were probably euthanizing about 50 to 60,000 adoptable dogs and cats every year. At the present time, the euthanasia rate has gone down, and that has been helped by the Mayor's Alliance, which was set up by a private corporation funding shelters that were doing a no-kill. Of course, this shelter is still not a no-kill. They are euthanizing animals. And we'd like to see one day where there is no killing, and some cities have achieved it. And New York City could be on its way to achieving this. Recently, Mayor de Blasio signed several pieces of legislation on behalf of animals in New York City. One of them is he set up the Mayor's Office of Animal Welfare. As of this time, they have not appointed anyone to any positions there. I'm assuming that they're in the process of selecting people to work in this office and selecting a head. The purpose of this office would be to promote adoptions and to have animals up for adoption within 3 days of entering the shelter, and also kennel cough vaccinations. This is crucial because what happened in the past in the animal care and control centers, if one animal in the ward had a kennel cough, they would euthanize the whole ward. So this will stop that. So they all will be vaccinated to prevent the spread of the kennel cough. I myself adopted a dog with kennel cough, and he was fine. He was on antibiotics, and he recovered.
What is kennel cough?
Kennel cough is the equivalent of pneumonia in dogs.
Oh my God!
Right, and they also are also encouraging, actually promoting the adoptions, as I said, and also they are providing for public reporting of complaints of animal cruelty and investigations. And the NYPD is now with the ASPCA the ASPCA worked with the police department to set up the NYPD Animal Cruelty Investigation Squad, and they're the ones investigating animal abuse. I will talk about that more later. The other pieces of legislation signed by Mayor de Blasio would be, as we all know, the banning of foie gras, and the other piece of legislation has to do with the trafficking of wild birds. In other words, people would come into the city and net all these birds, take them to Pennsylvania for a shoot, which means that they would release the birds and people would
Pull, that kind of
yes,
thing, right?
Yes, and see the birds. Innocent birds just die because they are such a great shot. They know how to shoot. And then finally, there's the Horse Carriage Heat Relief Act, in which the horses now cannot be, the carriage horses in Central Park cannot be taken out when the weather is over 90 degrees. Imagine walking in the city of New York when it's the heat and humidity is 105, and these poor horses have to pull people through the park or around the park. So this is one of the first pieces of legislation in favor of the carriage horses.
And may I say something?
Sure.
Do not release white doves or any kind of dove at any kind of ceremony, because these doves do not know how to survive out in the wild or in the streets. So when you release white doves, it looks very pretty. But now the doves are out there and they have no clue as to how to get food. They are subject to predators, other more streetwise pigeons. It's terrible, you know.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for telling us about that. And the other, I want to point out other problems with the carriage horses in New York City. First of all, I'm not sure the conditions of the stables, from what I understand, is not good, and also they're not given good veterinary care, and they have an improper diet. There is a horse right now. I received an email from New York Class, which if you Google them, you will get more information on this organization that is trying to change the plight of the carriage horses in New York City. Apparently, there's this horse that's being pulled that's very, very skinny. His bones are sticking out. And a veterinarian looked at the pictures of this horse and saw that this horse is very ill and should not be working. The owner of the horse does not care because, of course, if the horse drops dead in the stalls, they'll just haul the carcass off and it will be dumped on a garbage truck because they don't care. So his name is Tommy. I just received the email.
The horse.
The horse's name is Tommy, yes. And there were other conditions where the horse, for example, Midnight had colic. There was no veterinary care. The horse was
horse named Midnight?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and the horse had a very long day. The horse went back to the stables. There was no turnout. A turnout for a horse is when they're allowed to roam free and roam a little bit. Just brought back to the stalls. He developed colic, which is a very severe intestinal disease in horses, and he was found dead and then hauled away in the garbage truck. There was no veterinary care. This is the result of improper...
Don't they bury them or something?
No. The garbage truck, the New York City Sanitation Department hauls them off.
Oh, isn't that dangerous for the rest of us?
I don't know.
Decaying flesh?
I don't know, but he was just hauled off on a garbage truck. I don't know if it was a private sanitation or the New York City, but the horse's carcass was hauled off. And there was no autopsy or anything done on the horse. But so this is some of the issues that we have with the carriage horses, and this is still ongoing because there was actually people wanting to absolutely stop carriage horses in the city, but because the lobby was so strong, they couldn't do that. So we still have the carriage horses.
Well, there are those who argue that it's part and parcel of the Manhattan experience when
Yes.
tourists come here to have a carriage ride through the streets or
Yes.
through the park.
Yes. Well, why don't they just take a cab?
Well, you know, they
I mean, this is like, if they took better care of the horses, it wouldn't be so bad. You see what I'm saying? If they really took care, gave them proper diet, had them in a good facility, and took them off the streets if they were sick.
Well, they should do that with people, never mind horses.
Well, look at the way
the
we treat the
homelessness
homeless.
problem in New York is hideous.
Right.
And nobody cares and nobody helps
That's
the
right.
homeless.
That's
But anyway, in spite of everyone's best efforts, it just keeps growing larger and larger, and people are suffering terribly. So, but anyway, now, do the carriage drivers own the horses?
Yes. Not necessarily. I don't think so. I'm not sure about that. New York Class would be in a better position to answer that. I don't know if they do own the horses. I would imagine some do and some don't. I really don't know.
Yeah, it must be, well, now, okay, suppose a horse is too sick to work. Is that horse then euthanized, i.e. killed?
Probably. Probably.
And what do they do with the meat? I mean,
Well, they just, as I told you, they just, from my
I
understanding.
hope they don't make it into dog food.
No, I don't think so. They don't, I don't think they can do that.
We've all seen Marilyn Monroe and the Misfits, and the wild horses are made into dog
Yes,
food.
and they probably still are sold in the, that's another problem that is in the in the Midwest. I don't know
And
that.
Southwest
In the
and all that,
Southwest,
yeah.
in the Southwest, but I don't know about this. And the wild horses are part of our tradition. We should be treating them better also. We should be caring for them and not euthanizing them. And some of them were sold for slaughter. That's absolutely correct. So now, but as I'm mostly looking at the dogs and cats, but I have to add in about the horses so that if anybody wants to complain, they can complain to City Hall. They can complain to their local councilman about the problem with the carriage horses, and that would be helpful also, because I think they're very responsive now. This city council is very responsive to the needs of animals, just judging from all the legislation that have been passed. In 2017, they banned the use of wild and exotic animals in circuses. So they are trying to do a lot. They want to ban fur. So this city council is very receptive to animal issues.
Where do you stand on fur coats?
Well, an absolute ban is maybe not necessary, but I do think that
In California, you cannot buy brand new fur articles. You can wear vintage.
yes, that's probably what the best thing to do is. Unless what I have read is they humanely raise the animals and then take the fur. So but I'm reserving my opinion on that, because I think that it should just be vintage and no more animal slaughtering for the purpose of fur. That's what my opinion is. Just vintage. Because people 20 years ago or 30 years ago didn't even realize this. It was a status symbol to have a fur.
And both you and I have worn fur battles.
That's right.
Well,
Now-
so did Doris Day, so it's not all that.
That's right.
Famous animal rights activist.
And then Mary Tyler Moore was wearing fake fur coats.
Yeah, but she wore them like in...
Yes.
I have an ad from 1971 with her, Angie Dickinson, Amanda Blake, who played Miss Kitty
Oh,
on...
yes.
Yes, and Audrey Meadows, who was the wife of Steve Allen. And they're all wearing fake fur coats and saying it's the only coat you should buy.
Right.
And that was 50 years ago.
And ergo, I'm wearing a fake fur.
Yes, yes.
But anyway,
And I haven't shaved my legs, so that counts.
So there was also a legislation signed by Mayor de Blasio, which includes public reporting of animal abuse complaints and investigations, which is really important too. As we all know, there is a link between animal cruelty and crimes against humans. I did a seminar at the Bar Association, and of course the FBI was the first one to coin the homicidal triad. It's in the book by John Douglas entitled The Mine Hunter, which is now a series which was a series on cable and is now on Netflix. And the homicidal triad was for serial killers. And what they saw is that serial killers tortured and killed animals, were arsonists, and also engaged in bedwetting. So it's an important
And had fights with their mothers, too. Yes, it was terrible.
So I believe that that's a very important factor, is to look at animal cruelty. And that's how the ASPCA actually found out about domestic abuse. They would see animal abuse, and they would see that the spouses were abused, the children were abused, et cetera, et
I
cetera.
won't mention any names, but we both know famous, super famous animal rights activist who beat up his wife so badly he was asked to leave their building by the landlord.
Right. Now,
And he was in favor of saving the animals. It was people he couldn't stand. Okay, right. He wouldn't hurt a fly, but he killed people. No, he didn't kill anybody. But as far as we know, who knows, right? He'll probably come get me for what I've just said. But anyway,
and
yes.
I would also like to say that there is an animal abuse registry also that people can look at.
And find out what?
Well, who are animal abusers, because that's what was also set up.
All right, is there such a thing as a reformed animal abuser?
No, I don't think they can be reformed, just like a pedophile cannot be reformed. I just don't think so. That's my opinion. I don't think so at all.
Or do they do that because they're cowards? And they wouldn't abuse people because people might hit back, but animals are pretty much helpless?
Well, that's part of the reason. It's a control device.
Yeah.
It's a control device where they can control someone with violence. And the problem with that is that if you see children torturing or abusing animals. Psychologists view that as a red flag, and they don't know how to deal with it because they don't know how to correct that behavior. Because that behavior is really not correctable when they're children, and when they grow up, then they become animal abusers. But it's really it's not rehabilitative.
No, but if you explain to a child, how would you like it if someone did that to you? Then they get it, you know.
Sometimes, but sometimes they don't. They continue on with the behavior. So, you know, psychologists just really have no answers for that at this point, just like they do with pedophiles. It's really not, they can't be rehabilitated, which is a problem. It's almost like a sociopath. I mean, they're really difficult. I think part of the behavior must be sociopathic because it's a lack of conscience. It's a lack of feeling. It's lack of empathy.
No, we're not talking about housebreaking a dog or a little slap on the dog's backside. That's okay. But we're talking like blowtorches and stuff.
Oh, yeah, like we're slamming the dog against the wall, you know, or throwing them out the window.
Oh, my God.
Or like beating them, or like having an electric switch on them. I'm really, I mean, this is torture.
Horrifying.
Putting a kitten in an oven.
Oh, please. Don't give anyone any ideas, please.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
So what I encourage people to do is to contact
Gives new meaning to the term hot pussy, yes?
Yeah. What I would encourage people to do is to contact City Hall to see that they do have someone put in the Office of Animal Welfare. That's
now, you have a book there that you like.
Right. Well,
what's the book? Let's see the book.
Okay. Now, this is... What I also want to mention is that when people, instead of going to buy animals or going to breeders, go to the animal care center and adopt your dog or cat there. That's really important.
But aren't some of those dogs and cats so traumatized?
No, not really, because I've adopted many animals from there, and they're really great animals. I don't agree with that. That's not true. That's not true. And there are also many people will relinquish dogs at the shelter because they have landlord-tenant issues, and instead of trying to rectify it, or they dump animals there because they didn't look at the lease, and the lease doesn't allow the dog, which I don't believe.
In my building, it's really horrible. You can have a dog if you pay extra. It's ridiculous.
Oh, they do that in many places, and many people are willing to pay that. It's not...
That's so unfair, you know?
Well, sometimes pet owners make it difficult because they don't take care of their pets, and the pets, you know, have accidents in the hallway, and they bark too much. So you really have to be careful. Although we have the 3-month law. In other words, if you have a lease, and the lease forbids animals, but then you have an animal which is openly seen by like the super or an employee of the landlord, and nothing is said after three months, then you could keep the dog.
That is here in New York City.
In New York City.
Yes.
In New York City, yes. Now, the other thing I want to say is responsible pet ownership. If you don't have the time or even the money to devote to pets, don't adopt a cat or a dog. Because it's a lifelong commitment for the life of the animal, which could be 15, 20 years.
Let me ask you something. If you have no money and you have a dog, and the dog, or a cat, or a rabbit, or whatever you have, a lizard, anything, and it gets sick, is there a free vet that you can go to here in New York?
No, unfortunately, the vets are very mercenary here. They really want money.
So what?
However,
dog dies?
However, what you can do is the Animal Medical Center has a special fund for people that cannot afford dogs, and you may qualify for that. Or you could take one of these pet care credit cards where it's a lower credit rate, and you could put the cost of the care of the animal on a credit card. And New York was rated as one of the worst as far as veterinary care goes, as pertaining to the cost. The cost of veterinary care in New York City is stratospheric, and I can attest to that, having spent $20,000, $30,000 at vets for my pets. It's very, and even more than that.
I told you about that friend of mine who spent, I don't know how many thousands, to keep her poodle alive an extra year because the poodle had lymphoma.
Yeah, I kept my dog alive for 4 years, and that was probably about at the cost of like $30,000-$35,000.
Is it humane, though, to keep them alive when maybe they'd be better off?
Okay, that's an excellent question. Now, the answer to that is, how is the dog stabilized? If the dog is stabilized and the dog is fine, yes. But if the dog is going to suffer, well, then no.
Yeah.
And the only one who can answer that question is the vet. But I have a suggestion for people who don't want to pay these high vet bills. Get pet insurance. I have pet insurance for my dog, and it is wonderful.
Does every company give it?
Well, you go online, you find companies that give it. They have certain pet insurance companies that will have it, like Healthy Paws. There are a couple of Trupanion. You just investigate, see which one you can afford. And that is really helpful, especially in New York City, because the costs here are really stratospheric.
Yeah, they really are.
It's really...
We're seen all over the world. And this probably isn't making a lot of sense to people who live on a farm and sadly are used to animals living and dying and, But if you live in a city, I think it makes sense in every city what you're saying.
Oh, I think so. Because my dog had a condition, and I brought it to the animal medical center. And had the condition progressed, or had they found something, had she not started to walk, I would have been stuck with the $6,000 bill. Now, if I had pet insurance, so if that had happened, I would only have to pay $500, plus they would have paid 90% of the bill.
Yeah, but, okay, no, we've all seen here in Manhattan, you see many homeless folk with a dog. Now, I strongly suspect it's not their dog and it's a rented dog and they do it to get some cash. But, being the cynical turd that I am, of course I would think this. But, if it is their dog and they have, no money, it's terrible that they can't take the poor dog to the vet or anything.
Actually, there was a homeless man in the neighborhood. And there's actually some...
By the way, we're neighbors, so...
Voices for Shelter Animals actually is trying to allow homeless people to take their pets into the shelters. There was a homeless man in the neighborhood, Jose, who passed away. He had a dog, Shorty. Well, he was always with his dog, Shorty, and he refused to go into the shelter because he could not take his dog. So the local vet did the work for him at no charge.
God bless the vet. God bless the vet. What's the vet's name?
Dr. Giangola.
God bless you, Dr. Giangola.
Yes, he did it. He took care of the dog and never charged him.
God love him.
Yes, yes, that's right. So you may find a vet who will take, and also the animal medical center might do that too. Because they
Can you take a pet to an emergency room, emergency room in a hospital and say, my dog is dying, do something?
No, you have to go to the animal medical center or the 24-hour vets. They would be the ones.
They won't, if you're really, it's 3 a.m. and you don't know where else to go, can you just run into an emergency room? I guess not.
Not a people's emergency room.
Aww.
No, just an animal emergency. The animal medical center is open 24 hours. At one time, they were the only game in town.
Where is it?
It's on 62nd in York.
Right, yes. The friend with the dog with lymphoma took her there, I think.
That's where I took my dog Isabella when she couldn't walk on her hind legs. I took her there at 5 in the morning, and they're there 24 hours.
But I've seen Isabella. She seems fine.
Yes, because she had her own neurologist.
We should be so lucky.
I know, right? She had a very good neurologist, and she was able to walk. So she is the dog that perhaps needed the $6,000 operation, but then when she started to walk, the neurologist said she'd be fine. I just have to watch.
Let me just tell a short, quick story about my mother. My mother was a great woman. We had a poodle named Mishy Mutt, named Michelle, but we call her Mishy Mutt. The dog swallowed a needle, a sewing needle.
Oh.
My mother, it's 1969. My mother took her to the vet. Cost a fortune. The vet had to slice get the damn needle out. Saved the dog. It cost more than having 5 kids in a row. But she did it. Isn't that great?
Oh, yeah, that's what I did for my pets.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what.
Yeah, but in 1969, that was unusual.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Well, now they have vets all over, and there are some really good vets, but they want to get paid.
Well, yeah, he didn't do it for free. We had to pay him, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure it was very expensive at that time.
So now, if people want to contact you and ask you about animal rights organizations, or if you can recommend a good insurance company or a good vet, how would they contact you?
I could give them my telephone number, or
I would give them your email.
Okay, my email.
Yes.
It's marieanesq@gmail.com.
That's Marie Mar.
Amar. You have to put the A in the middle, else I will not get it.
Oh, Maria.
MARIEA, which is my middle initial A, Mar, MARESQ@gmail.com.
Okay. And she's a lawyer, so Esquire, ESQ.
Now, do you want me to discuss this?
We have no time, but if you stick around, we'll do another show and show it some other time.
Okay.
Say
thanks.
yes.
Yes.
The animals need you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So, anyway, now, I'm really worried about pet owners who have no money. Because, I really am, Because what do you do? It's like your kid, your little fur baby, and you have no money, and you can't afford to take them to the doctor, and they're sick. That must be a terrible feeling.
Yes. Many of them actually, just wind up losing their pets. They recommend euthanasia. Vets themselves who will not do it without getting paid will just recommend euthanasia.
Oh, yes, but in some cases, euthanasia is called
right,
for.
But when it's not warranted, there is a story about a person who took their cat who was attacked by a pit bull to, I won't say which hospital, but a veterinary hospital, and they refused to treat the cat because they didn't have the money. They went to Dr. Giangola, and Dr. Giangola took the cat and took payment on a monthly basis.
God love you, Dr. Giancola.
I don't know if he does this anymore, but that's what he did, and he saved the cat.
How wonderful.
He was a marvelous vet. He was really terrific.
Good. That's nice to hear,
Right.
Okay, so if you have pets, love your pets, please, and be
Please.
kind to them. And if you ever see anyone abusing any kind of pet, call 911 and report these people.
Yes, there is an NYPD animal cruelty investigation squad that will look into it.
And just the police. I mean, many
police.
police people are pet owners, and they
Yes,
aren't going to
yes.
like seeing this
No,
either.
No. And also contact City Hall 311, contact your local council person, and tell them that you want to see all these laws implemented, because Mayor de Blasio did sign all these laws. We want to see them implemented.
Yes, and this applies to everyone in the country.
That's right.
Not Mayor de Blasio or our New York
Right.
laws, but in your city, you
that's
have
right.
those laws. My guest has been attorney and animal rights activist Ms. Marie Marr, M-A-R, and she has been telling us how we can take care of our animals, and how we can take care of animals in general. And again, your website, your email?
MarieMaresq@gmail.com.
Okay. And I'm Diana Montford. This has been the Diana Montford Show. As I've said, that was Ms. Marie Marr talking about animal welfare and animal safety and what we can do to help our friends of all kinds,
Who are voiceless.
Yes, indeed. Unlike me, I never shut up. So anyway, I love you a lot. Even if no one else loves you, I love you. I'll see you next time. Love you. Bye.
Thank you, Diana, for this opportunity. Thank you. And the animals, thank you.
There you go. Now we take a little 5-minute break and we're good to go.
I don't know if I have a half an hour to talk about this.
We'll figure it out. Don't worry. You were great.
Really, you were great too. I love your questions. You kept it really going.
And really, never release doves, because
Yeah,
people
that
don't
was
even
great.
think of that.
No, they don't. I never knew that until you
Isn't
mentioned.
that friend who saved her dog?
Right?
She found a white dove in the street, and she's good with animals, so she coaxed it and took it home and put it in a cage. It lived 17 years. How great is that?
Oh my God. I'm just a little concerned. I don't know if I'm going to have a half an hour
Sure
for this.
you will. Come on.
I think so. I don't know.
Do it for the animals.
Yeah, I don't know if I have enough, but you'll ask a lot of questions.
I will.
I don't know if I'll have the
I have
answer.
to run out into the street for a second. That's why I'm putting on my
Okay, that's good.
jacket.
I'll run to the bathroom again.
Yeah. So, okay, I'll be back. Damn, it's cold out there.
Yeah, it
Jesus,
is. Didn't it get so cold?
Yes.
It's like really crazy. It was like warm and then cold, and I think Tuesday's going to be 50.
I know. Sunday I'm going to go see West Side Story.
Oh, you have to tell me how it is.
I hear it's a dog show that is
Oh, wait, I'm walking around with the...
that it's really not good,
Really?
That it's an experiment that went wrong, They've modernized it.
Yeah, I didn't think I would like a modern version. I think
No, but a friend of mine is in a wheelchair, so we got tickets for $49 a piece. So I'll be right back.